Greetings everyone, welcome to video number 45 in the project management series presented by Process Geekoid. Today's agenda will be going over reviewing the PMBOK process table as well as the Conduct Procurement process. As always, please subscribe, like, and comment. So let's move forward. So after having a plan in place for procurement with make and buy decisions already made, the next step in procurement is to execute the plan with the intent to sign an agreement or contract with the vendor to deliver as part of the project. In a nutshell, the 41st process of Conduct Procurement is the action of procuring or getting services or software after taking in the procurement management plan and make and buy choice. So after the choice to make or buy in-house, buy from the outside, or make in-house, the PMO team or Project Management Office team will conduct a bidder or vendor conference by sending out procurement documents such as request for bid RFB, request for proposal RFP, request for information RFI from all potential vendors or sellers. In this process, as buyers, we also do a bunch of procurement negotiations to specify contract terms, obtain seller responses from doing these procurements, getting the documents signed, and resulting in selecting a seller and ultimately awarding a contract or agreement to perform services for the project at hand. Now the ITTOs for Conduct Procurements are shown here. For inputs, we have Procurement Management Plan, Procurement Documents, Source Selection Criteria, basically looking at all the various reasons as to why you're looking for a seller, what will meet your needs in terms of getting a third-party vendor to do some part of the project. So it's criteria to help you narrow down your choices. Then you have seller proposals. These are proposals that are coming in from the procurement documents. Your request for proposal RFP is going to be translated as a seller proposal. So the seller could have been giving a specific price and a specific software for the project and a fixed term to use the software. So those are all the proposals. Then project documents. So this could be more specific to the bid, RFB, or RFI for information, or even RFQ, request for quote, so the price of the service. And then you have next input, which is make or buy decisions. And these are core capabilities of the organization where the value delivered by the vendors, risks associated with meeting need with cost effectiveness, internal versus external capability is already been done. This has already been done during planning procurement, and this is where these decisions are being made. So if we've come this far, that means we have decided to buy from the outside and use a third-party vendor or supplier. Then you have procurement statement of work, or SOW, for each procurement. This is not the same statement of work as we did in the beginning of the project to get our charter signed off. This is only specific to each procurement and is developed from scope baseline, which is defining the procurement in detail for the sellers to determine if they can provide the services or not. So the procurement statement of work has the various components such as specifications, quantity, desired quality levels, performance data, period of performance, and work location. Next input is going to be the OPAs, Organizational Process Assets, and this usually lists all prospective previously qualified sellers, information on relevant past experience with sellers, good and bad experiences, and reviews, also having prior agreements. Could also serve as an OPA. Then you have tools and techniques. So the way that we're going to conduct the procurement is to host a bidders conference. So here you're allowing the vendors and sellers to give a presentation to the buyer and explain what the seller is going to do for the buyer. A seller or vendor can ask questions to the buyer and vice versa. So it's an exchange where the buyers and sellers come together and the buyer has to choose from a bunch of sellers and take the bid that is suitable to them. And then the next step is going to be using proposal evaluation techniques. You're going to use that in all types of procurements, whether it be complex or not. You're going to look at source selection criteria. It will be based on seller response to the RFP document and previously defined weighted criteria. It is a formal evaluation review process which will be defined by the buyer's procurement policies, and the buyer's side evaluation committee makes a selection based on evaluation criteria for approval before awarding a contract. Next tool is independent estimates. So this could be estimates coming from the industry and using those as a standard to come up with a price and then go forward to decide which seller to take in. Then you have expert judgment, which is going to come in the form of your PMO or procurement or purchasing department that might assist you in negotiating the best contract for the project. Then you have advertising, which you're trying to advertise that as a buyer you need a third-party seller or vendor to basically provide a specific service. So this is your way of distributing information out of the company to say that we need assistance in a specific part of a project. And this will be your first form of communication to the outside and get a sense of need and buy-in from potential bidders or vendors. So you will advertise the need for a third party to perform a specific function. Next tool is going to be an analytical technique, and basically you're analyzing which type of contract is suitable before awarding the contract. Then you will use procurement negotiations to negotiate for a better deal before accepting the contract to benefit both parties. So basically making a good deal for the overall project. The output is going to be selected sellers. So once you have evaluated all your criteria, then you would have already taken a decision as a team to select a seller or a bunch of sellers to provide specific services for the project, and in turn you would have awarded a contract or agreement which consists of statement of work, deliverables to be given out from the vendor, schedule baseline, performance reporting, periods of performance, roles and responsibilities, seller's place of performance, pricing, payment terms, place of delivery, inspection, and acceptance criteria. Next output is going to be your resource calendars. This is not the same resource calendar we saw in human resource management planning. This is resource calendar specific to the third party supplier or vendor, and making sure that the resource calendars on their end match the internal project team's calendar. Then you have change requests, because during procurement you will have change requests, and that could happen because sometimes in planning you might not have noticed any specific information, and changes can be given out of here since not all contracts will be signed immediately, and change requests will be risen to make changes as needed to meet both parties' interests, the buyer and seller parties. Then you have project management plan updates to the cost baseline, scope baseline, schedule baseline, communications management plan, and procurement management plan. So you're updating cost baseline in case you have more estimates to take into consideration. Then updates the scope baseline to incorporate any scope changes that the supplier or vendor may bring in. Schedule baseline, you'd have to accommodate the time for the supplier or vendor to do their part of the project. Communications management plan is also updated to accommodate intercompany or intercompany communications. and then updates to the procurement management plan as to how we are going to continue doing the contract. And last but not least, you have updates to the project documents, and this is updates to the requirements document, requirements traceability matrix, risk register, stakeholder register, and procurement documents. So the key benefit of this process is that it provides alignment of internal and external stakeholder expectations through established agreements. So hence the overall purpose of Conduct Procurements is the process of obtaining seller responses, selecting a seller, and awarding a contract. So that contract is your binding agreement between yourself, the buyer, and the seller to perform the services needed for successful project completion. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe, like, and comment.